What's up? What's happening? I don't know why I have a bad connection. Imagine that. On the top of a mountain, I have a bad connection. Come on. Grr. So, yeah, here we are. I'm waiting for my son to get ready. So I have 5 or 10 minutes. And I just thought I would open this up and see what we got for the question. I did have a question earlier today that somebody just texted me that I'll answer right now while I wait. Had a kid send me a message through YouTube, and he was like, "Hey man, I don't have any experience, I don't have any money, but I want to start a contracting business." Okay, and he wants to get into like flooring, something like that. And so here's what I told him. Obviously, it helps if you have some experience and you know what the heck you're talking about. So he wasn't clear. He never answered me back about whether he had experience in the industry. So let's assume that he's a dude who works for somebody. He's installing floors, hardwoods and stuff like that. And he's working for somebody, and he wants to start his own business. Let's just say he doesn't have experience building a business in the past. What I told him is, I said, number one, in order to have a business, you need a couple things. And it's pretty simple. First thing you need is a problem to solve for people. Okay, and in this case, there are people out in the world that don't have a reliable source for installing flooring and things like that. I said, so that's good that there's a source, right, for that? Oops, hold on, just hit a button. There we go. All right, so you got to have a need, right? You got to have something that people actually want and they're going to give you money for. And the second thing I said that you need is you need to have a bank account, okay? That helps because you need somewhere to put the money. That's really in the trades what you need to get started. Now listen, don't jump my ass for not saying that you should go get incorporated and registered and all that other. Yes, that goes without saying. Like go out and do the legal things that you need to do in your state. But at the end of the day, to start a business, you need a need to meet, and you need a bank account if you know what you're doing in your trade. And you get out there. And then the third thing I told him that he really needed, because remember part of this equation was he didn't have any money, and he wants to start a business. I said, dude, if you don't have any money to market your business and capital to do stuff, if you can at least have enough money to buy your own equipment and some things like that to get you started, then the only other thing you need is you need to freaking hustle. You need to pound the pavement. When I first started my first painting company years ago, I knocked door after door after door after door. And heck, I just did a bunch of YouTube videos with Steve Burnett. He grew his business 5 times over in 3 years, okay? And in the early days, on YouTube, go to Tom Reber YouTube channel and look for a conversation with me and Steve Burnett. There's like 4 or 5 videos there. They're real short. Steve shared how it was just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of doors until finally somebody hired him, and that was the thing that made the first domino fall. All right, so if you're in that situation where you need to get out and you want to start a business, all right, find a need to meet and find a way to meet it better than someone else. And usually that's not just the quality of work, it's the experience that you give people. And then then get out there and hustle. Okay? Just hustle and look to knock over that first domino and serve them like you would never serve anyone else. And just because this is showtime. All right? And that one person, oh my God, as I'm telling this story, I'm thinking back to some of the very first people that hired me when I had no idea what I was doing in my painting company. I mean, I knew how to paint a little. I worked for my uncle growing up and stuff, but I wasn't the best painter, but I was the best hustler. I got out there and hustled and knocked doors, and when I got those opportunities, those people in the early days were truly the catalyst for millions of dollars of sales over my career, all right? So you got to get that first domino to fall. So if you don't have any money and you're trying to start a business, it's just going to take some hustle. The thing we're doing right now, social media, okay, it was not like this back when a lot of us started our businesses years ago. Okay, so you have a great advantage right now if you're one of those people that wants to know how to start a business and you don't have a lot of money. We got Facebook, we got Instagram, we got YouTube, all right? And tell your story. Hey, if you're starting a brand new business, do a video just like I'm doing here and go, hey, my name's Tom, and I'm brand new in the painting business or whatever, and I've never done a job for anyone yet. I've done some side jobs, but I'm going off on my own. I'm starting a job, and I would love an opportunity to help beautify your home. You know, give me a call at 555-1212, whatever. Whatever it takes, you have to be urgent and obsessed with growing your business, okay? If you're in that situation where you want to start it, and shit, even if you've been in business a long time and you need the phone to ring more, all right? I've done a lot of stuff, a lot of these videos, a lot of things on my website, YouTube, podcasts, where I've talked over and over and over and over about the mindset that you have to market your business, okay? So, all right, I'm looking here. So that was a question I got. I don't see any others coming in here. Like I said, those of you that, are just joining, I'm waiting for my son to get ready. We dropped off my truck here at home and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so Alex, what's the best way to convince somebody that they need something that may not necessarily be a priority for them and is a higher price point than they may expect? Good question. You know, sales is all about tapping into what your ideal client wants. And so, yes, something might be best for them, but this is what you do, right? You know, hey, this is the best solution for you. But at the end of the day, we can't sell beyond what they are willing to buy. I don't know if that makes sense to you. So, for instance, if you're going to do a remodeling project for somebody and you think it'd be really cool to have a couple other features in it, be careful that you do not sell beyond what they're ready to buy for. Sometimes we talk ourselves out of a sale because we're trying to do what's best for people. And instead, I might say, hey, listen, you know, Joe, I got one of two options here, you know, as we're designing your project or whatever. And the first is this, and this is more expensive, but if it were my house, this is the route I would go. You know, it's going to cost, I don't know, $30,000 to $50,000, okay? Or the other option we could go is we could just stick to the base project that you and I talked about, but please understand that down the road you might have a couple of these issues, okay? So I think it's just having an open and honest conversation, asking them what's truly important to them, and not... in the Contractor Sales Academy, we talk about we use the phrase all the time, and I think it's a Sandler sales thing or something that I heard years ago in that training. Don't sell beyond yes. So, you know, raise your hand. I'm raising mine. Give me a like if you've ever talked yourself out of a sale. Go ahead and hit the like button right now, or a heart or something. Okay? A lot of times we'll go in there. They'll call us. I used to do this. I used to go into somebody's house, and they would want me to paint the walls. And I would look up at the ceiling, I'd go, man, the ceiling's really ugly. And I'd go, well, hey, I'm going to throw in this, a price for the ceiling too, and your trim is looking pretty ratty, and your closets need to be done, and we should fix the drywall over here. And I start pointing out all this crap around their house, and the next thing you know, the bid that was going to be $3,000 is now $17,000. And I've itemized the whole thing, and I've done nothing but confuse them. I wasted all my time, and I talked myself out of a sale when they had actually already said, like, they wanted to do the walls, just the walls. But then the more options I gave them, and the more I tried to quote unquote help them and do what was best for them, I ended up confusing them, and then they wanted to think about it more, and then I ended up talking myself out of several sales. So hopefully that makes sense, Alex. And that's why asking great pain and pleasure questions are awesome. So if you ask a homeowner, hey, let's wave a magic wand over this remodeling project, okay? You know, what's it look like on the other end for you? How are you using it? Then shut your mouth. They'll tell you what they want you to design. And it's your job to design that. Go ahead and point out, don't point out like, hey, you should do this, but instead say, hey, would it make sense to talk to you about a couple issues that you might have down the road if you only do this? And shut up. And they say, no, this is good for now. Let it go. All right, Nick's asking, oh, man, Nick, what do you do with employees who are great craftsmen, but their personal lives get in the way of them advancing in the company? Well, that's tough because we all know in the trades it's hard to find people that are great craftsmen. But I think you're going to have to come up with you're going to have to identify, just like you do in marketing, what's our ideal client look like? You have to identify what your ideal employee looks like and have some non-negotiables. And no matter their skill level out in the field, as painful as this is, if you want to build the type of business that has a great culture and becomes a place that the top people in the industry want to work at, you're going to have those non-negotiables and stick to them. So I guess one of them would be you need to find your own way to work, right? I mean, I had guys, I had my cousin working for me for years. He's an amazing craftsman. I used to drive to the train station every day to pick him up because he could never drive to the jobs because he had a DUI. I used to have to give him money, advances on his pay and all this other stuff. And he was awesome. I could not have built my company early on without him. And so that was a pain that I was willing to deal with until my company grew to a certain point. And then I was like, man, I got to get my act together with, some of this stuff. And then we ended up parting ways. But, yeah, that's a tough one. However, I think you got to put your foot down and set the tone for the other people in the business, because it sends a message. When we keep somebody that everyone knows jacked up in their life, they can't get to work, maybe they have a substance problem, they're always having to leave for court and shit like that, and you keeping them around just because they can paint, to me that sends a message to the other people in the company that you're full of shit when you talk about building a great culture of integrity and stuff like that. I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying in general. One of my non-negotiables, Nick says, is 3 times late and you're fired, but then car troubles, etc. All right, well, maybe you don't do it. Don't put yourself in a corner by firing them. Maybe it's a week off. Maybe it's a couple days off. Maybe it's, hey, the first time you're late, you need to, you're going to wash the vans or something. And the second time, you have to wear a half shirt and some Daisy Duke cutoff shorts and post a picture of yourself on the company Facebook page. Okay, something like that. And then the third time, it's something else. So anyway, I get what you're saying, man. You got to have that, but I know you're balancing it with the schedule that you have, which is why we should always be hiring. But think of this: when you follow through and do what you say you're going to do, and give somebody a week off, give them time off, fire them or whatever, the message it sends to the other people in the business are you can be trusted. Whether they like it or not, you can be trusted, you're a man of your word. And so I think the right people with great character, they're going to be willing, they're going to want to stay working for you because you're somebody of integrity and follows your word and does what you said. Because I can't tell you how many times I talk to contractors on my coaching calls and at events and things like that, where there's like these double standards because the guy is really good. Yeah, I knew you'd like the half shirt idea. So look at that guy. We're on Facebook Live, so don't be an idiot.
You're not even facing me.
I'm not facing you?
No, you're facing the stairs.
Oh, there you are. Okay. That's my boy Dakota. We were shooting some videos. All right. One last question if we got one coming in. We'll do one more. See outside? Pretty nice out there. Look at that. Woo! It's cloudy in Colorado today. What are we going to do? Got clouds. However, I'm going to Punta Cana tomorrow. Yeah. So, beach, sun, sand. All right, last call for questions. I know there's a delay, so somebody might have asked one, so if I get off this thing before I see another question come through, I apologize. I'll try to answer it later. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, listen, I don't want to offend anybody, but I think we should talk about Jesus and politics right now. What do you guys think?
And race. race.
And race, yeah. Yeah, nuke the gay whales for Jesus. So, anyway. I saw a bumper sticker with that years ago.
That's
Isn't that
awesome.
cool? Right. Josh is asking, I'm growing my business. Any tips on going from basement office to an official office? So, give me, I think, Josh, what you're asking is, should you move out of your house into a real office? No. I would stay in your house, pissing your wife off with tools and paperwork all over the place if you're married, for as long as humanly possible, because the minute you move out, your overhead goes up, your break even goes up. I would stay. I grew to what did we grow to? I had a 12 by 12 room in my basement. That we grew the business to about, oh God, just under $1 million. I think $850,000, $900,000 before we moved out and got an office, and I should have stayed in the basement longer. Okay, life got harder when we moved out, and it wasn't broken. Yeah, I could have made some adjustments and some things like that, but I wish I would have stayed in there longer. And a lot of people I talk to. So, but let's play this scenario out. I don't know your business. I don't know the money you're making and this and that. But let's say you're paying nothing at home and you're going to rent a place for $1,000 a month or whatever. Work that into your overhead and understand this. That $1,000 a month is $12,000 a year. Let's bump it up to $1,500 a month, which is $18,000 a year. When we figure some utilities and whatever, let's just, you got to get a sign for the place, you got to get some furniture, whatever. So let's actually just bump it up to $20,000 for the sake of our math. Okay? In order for you to break even on that, you need to do, hey, you got your phone? Pull your calculator out. Okay. If you get a 50% gross profit on your work, you divide that $20,000, 20,000 divided by 0.50, you're going to get $40,000. You have to market, sell, and produce an additional $40,000 this year, or whatever year, just to zero out on the office. Okay? Let's pretend you're only getting a 35% gross profit. Dakota, $20,000, 20,000. Divided by 0.35. So if you don't get a 50% gross profit and your gross profit's lower, your break even is
$57,142.
$57,000 that you got to do. Now let's say it's 30%. 20,000 divided by 30, probably $60,000, right?
Let's see. $66,000.
$66,000.
Well, essentially, you turn into the devil.
The issue is I see is bringing office helpers in, more professional environment, more productive, etc. What trade are you in, Josh? I don't know what it is. And listen, I'm not saying do it or don't do it. I'm saying count the financial cost. If you run the type of business where you have to bring people to the office and go over designs and things like that, I can see that. But there's also co-working spaces out there where you can hiring. They take you more serious. Who? The client or the workers? Because you just put that in there. But listen, okay, so restoration stuff. So yeah, listen, it's if it's truly screwing up your way of life at home and you got guys showing up and things like that, and it's screwing up the family routine in the morning, by all means, look for something like that. But I would go on the cheap. I can't tell you how many. My business partner in the Contractor Sales Academy runs a $1.4 million business with massive profits. Like big. Has he got big profits or what, Steve? Yeah, right? Okay. And he runs it out of basically a one-stall garage at his house. Okay? And so you can interview at Starbucks. Workers don't give a crap what the office looks like. They want to know that you got work for them. You're going to pay them well. They're going to have an opportunity to advance. You can do all that stuff without having a fancy office. I'm sure there's other pieces of the equation that I'm missing here, but I would look to outsource. I use a virtual assistant. There are, so many online apps and programs and softwares and things like that that are and outsourcing capabilities for us in business these days. I think before I go spending a lot of money adding overhead of people and equipment and furniture and rent and all that other garbage, I'd much rather keep that money in my pocket and use it to market the business. Yeah, and then there'll come a time when it does make sense, obviously, to do that. So, again, I don't know all the ins and outs of your business. So, well, listen, we are going to hit the road. And I appreciate you guys hanging here for a bit. Stay tuned. We'll do this a couple times a week. And if you have other questions that I didn't get to, if I just wasn't able to see them here, I'm sorry. I'll go through the comments when we're done. Or you can always post on this Facebook page as well some questions, and we'll take the time to answer them. So appreciate you guys. Have an awesome day, and have a great weekend, and motor hard.